This is the video next that's going to introduce to us the point slope formula. Okay, anytime during the video that you need to pause and copy, please feel free to. You may want to do that right now. But let's go ahead and talk about what we mean by point slope formula. Right here is the point slope formula. Okay, y minus y sub 1 equals m parentheses x minus x sub 1, close that parentheses. Okay, guys, this is a formula that is going to allow us to write the equation for any line on a graph paper that we know the slope for and we know a point that's on it. Not necessarily the y-intercept like in the last unit, but any point on the line. Okay, now in our formula, we know that m is going to be our slope or rate of change right here. Okay, we're also going to have to be told a point that's on the line. That point that is on the line is the x sub 1, y sub 1. Okay, this x and y, that's your independent dependent variable, your input output. Those x's and y's never change. Okay, they're always there. That's our variables in our equation. Okay, now when we get ready to work these problems, our directions are going to be fairly simple. They're literally in variations of what I've written here. That's just, we'll say, find the equation of the line with the slope of and passes through the points something. Okay, now right here, my directions, I've got m and x sub 1, y sub 1, but in the real world problem, those are actually going to be numbers. Okay, now this is just a procedure using a formula. So let's see how this is going to work. Okay, so example 1, we want to find the equation of the line that's going to go through the point 2, 6, and I know that slope of that line is 4. Okay, now if I know I have a line on my graph paper that's going to pass through this point and the slope of the line is 4 or 4 over 1, what is this actual equation? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. First thing we always do is write our formula. Y minus y sub 1 equal to m parentheses x minus x sub 1. Okay, make sure you write your formula. If you don't, I will take off points. Okay, now we have 3 numbers up here. We're just going to make sure we put them in their appropriate spot. Now we got to be careful right here because the 2 is x sub 1, the 6 is the y sub 1. Okay, so make sure you get those in the correct spot. So right here, I'm going to have y minus y sub 1, that is my 6, equal to m, which is 4, times x minus x sub 1, which in my point is 2. Okay, that's our second line, just substituting. Okay, so if you want to write your steps out here, first thing we're going to do is write the formula. The second thing we're just going to do is substitute. Now, in the third step, we're going to do the distributive property. So I'm going to have y minus 6 equal to 4x minus 8. In the last step, we're going to combine like terms. Okay, so that means I'm going to add the 6 over to go with the minus 8. So I'm going to have y equals 4x. Now, minus 8 plus 6, that's a combined minus 2. And right there is my equation. And I'm done. Now, pause and copy, and then we'll go to number 2. Number 2 I picked only because it has negatives. Okay, so in number 2, I'm going to tell you that my slope is -2. And I'm going to tell you the line is going to pass through the point 6, -3. Okay, now I am going to do the same 4 steps I did right here to find my equation. I'm just going to use these three numbers. So let's write our formula. Y minus y sub 1 equal to m parentheses x minus x sub 1. Okay, now let's substitute. Y minus the y value here is negative 3 equal to m, which is negative 2 parentheses x minus 6. Now, in the next line, I'm going to do my distributive property, but because I have the minus and negative, I'm also going to simplify that. We know minus and negative is the same thing as adding the positive. So that's y plus 3 equal to, now distributive property here, negative 2x plus 12. Now, the last step is to take that plus 3 and subtract it. So I've got y equals negative 2x. Now 12 minus 3 is 9. And there's my answer. Okay. Again, pause your video and copy this down, and then we'll go to number 3. Okay. Example 3, I picked it because of the slope is a fraction and the point is also has a 0. Okay, so we wanted to kind of visit that. So in number 3, the point that I'm going to do is negative 6, 0, and my slope is going to be 2/3. Okay, I'm still going to do the same 4 steps. So I'm going to have y minus y sub 1 equal to m parentheses x minus x sub 1. Substituting my numbers. Over on the left side, I've got y minus 0 equal to 2/3 times x minus negative 6. Now, let's think about this a second. Y minus 0, if you subtract 0 from anything, you just get itself. So that side really is just y. Okay, now I'm going to throw a little extra step in here because this minus and negative bothers me. I'm going to change it to adding the positive. So I'm going to go ahead right here and just make it x plus 6. Okay, now I'm going to worry about my distributive property. So y equals 2/3 x plus, now you remember when we multiply fractions with a whole number, we multiply by the numerator, divide by the denominator. So 2 times 6 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And there's our answer. Okay. Now, pause it and we'll do number 4. Take it over. Number 4, I picked because the slope is 0. Okay, so number 4, I'm going to say m is 0 and my point is going to be 4 and 1. Okay, so what happens with this m equals 0? That's the focus of example 4. So let's take a look. Y minus y sub 1 equal to m parentheses x minus x sub 1. So that's going to be y minus 1 equal to 0 parentheses x minus 4. Now, can't simplify anything on the left side right here, so just bring down the x minus 1. Now let's talk about the 0 for a second. What happens when you multiply 0 times anything? Anything multiplied by 0, we know is going to equal 0. Well, right here, I'm doing 0 times everything in the parentheses. Well, 0 times anything inside the parentheses is just going to be 0. So this just makes this whole side right here one big old 0. Okay? Don't try to put 0x. Do not do 0x. Well, because what is 0 times x? 0. Okay? It's an easy mistake that people will make, but 0x is just 0. okay? Now, the only thing I've got left to do is to add this 1 to both sides. So my equation is y equals 1. And that's okay, because we learned back in our Hoyt-Butz lesson that y equals 1 means that I'm going to have a horizontal line. Okay, and we knew that, should have remembered that right here, because all horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Okay, so there is my answer. It's okay to have an answer without an x. It means you've got a slope of 0 and a horizontal line. Now, go ahead and make sure you got all your notes copied into your interactive notebook, and then go to Canvas and find your assignment.